We are now going across to Abu Dhabi's jam-packed Zayed Sports City Stadium, where Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be addressing the Indian diaspora shortly, we are being told. Prime Minister Modi is currently on a two-day visit to the United States of Emirates. The Prime Minister earlier met with UAE President, remember, who is Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan.
मिली बोलिए अहलान मोदी Please welcome our beloved leaders, His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and the Prime Minister of India, our beloved Modi ji. दिल थाम के बैठिए, थोड़ी ही देर में हमारे भारत की शान
परिसर में
Please welcome our beloved leaders, His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan.
Now the visuals you are seeing at the moment is coming from Abu Dhabi's Zayed Sports City Stadium, where our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibul has been getting us all the updates from the ground. Now what you're seeing right now are the Indian diaspora. That's about 3.5 million people, strong Indian diaspora in UAE, and the Indian Prime Minister is on his two-day visit to the country. And for more on this, we are being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibul, live from Abu Dhabi. Siddhant, what's happening on the ground? We are being told the Prime Minister is just moments away from his address to the Indian diaspora in Abu Dhabi.
Well, the crowd has completely become ecstatic as the Prime Minister and the ruler of UAE arrive here, where they will be shortly addressing the diaspora. The Indian Prime Minister will be addressing, and the crowd, of course, chanting the Prime Minister's name. And, of course, they are really going ecstatic. That is the word to describe them. In fact, what I can tell you, and if I can show you some of the visual, is that the entire stadium has transformed into a stadium with the mobile lights being used by the diaspora. They're waving the mobile lights. It's a sea of glowing mobile lights held by the members of the diaspora. But essentially, when it comes to this diaspora event, we have been here since morning, that's local time, approximately 11 a.m. and we have seen how the crowd was coming in waves. Of course, now the stadium is packed with members of the diaspora, and most of them are keen to get a glimpse of the Prime Minister, get a conversation, and of course listen to his address. But completely a rock star welcome for the Indian Prime Minister here in UAE. Remember, this is a country which hosts one of the largest members of the Indian diaspora, and if you can hear around me the crowd now chanting patriotic slogans as well. Let me just take you to the stadium, the location where the Prime Minister and the ruler of UAE will be coming and addressing. But essentially, when it comes to this stadium, it has a capacity of 60,000 people. It can hold at a time. Now, members of the diaspora standing and awaiting to get a glimpse of the Prime Minister. But let me get you this ground report, essentially how people have been happy, excited, ecstatic. You can use your word, but essentially that's the feeling on the ground when it comes to members of the diaspora. Now, we know that in the past as well, the Indian Prime Minister has addressed diaspora events here in UAE and across the world, but this is being touted as one of the biggest diaspora events since the Madison Square Garden event that took place in 2014. Now, essentially, if you look at Prime Minister's speeches at the diaspora event, he lays out his vision of India, usually announces key policy decisions or something that benefits the diaspora, whether it's in France where the visa announcement was made, whether it is in US where the announcement was made of opening of Indian mission in Seattle. So several such announcements have been made in the past. Will there be announcement this time around is the big story if it happens. But all in all, this is the first public address of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 2-day visit to the UAE. He has, of course, met the UAE president and we saw key announcements being made, whether it is linking the two countries together financially using UPI, whether it is the physical connectivity. Remember, a protocol framework agreement was signed when it comes to India, Middle East and Europe corridor. So all in all, the mood is quite upbeat here where I am standing at the Zayed Sports City Stadium here in Abu Dhabi, UAE.
Absolutely, Siddhant, and there seems to be a mixture of diplomacy with friendship, because just ahead of this visit, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi referred to the UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan as his brother, and then once he landed in Abu Dhabi, he said it feels like home here. So it's not just diplomacy. The relationship definitely is not restricted to just that. There seems to be a one-on-one friendship, a one-on-one relationship between the two countries and between the two leaders, definitely. And we're also being told that the two countries signed 8 pacts to bolster cooperation in key areas such as investment, electricity trade and digital payment platforms. If you could take us through some of those statements.
Let me first talk about that personal bond between the two leaders.
Sure.
Yes, both leaders have been referring to each other as brother. And remember, the Indian Prime Minister addresses the World Government Summit in Dubai. And this happens just a month after the UAE President addressed the vibrant Gujarat Summit, the business meeting, investors meeting in Gujarat. So essentially, there are high-level engagements. And as the Prime Minister today said that whenever I meet you, whenever I'm here, I feel I'm meeting a member of the family. So that personal chemistry between the two leaders is quite visible for everyone to watch. Now, talking about the various announcements which have been made, I've already talked about how there were focus areas when it comes to connectivity, both physical and digital connectivity. Physical in terms of the India, Middle East, Europe corridor. Remember, this is a corridor that was announced during India's G20 presidency, and thereafter we know that the focus has been by the Indian government to emphasize on how to make it stronger. The Greek Prime Minister later travels to India, and we could see announcement on this corridor again. But the financial connectivity bit is the usage of rupee card, the RuPay card basically. Just yesterday, Mauritius adopted the RuPay card. So that is going to help many people, especially tourists, Indian tourists who will be traveling to Mauritius, UAE. They can just swipe and pay. That saves a lot of foreign exchange as well. So that is a positive development in terms of the financial connectivity. Now, there are other pacts as well. The economy is something that has been a key pillar of this relationship, and the bilateral investment treaty, this is an agreement that the Indian cabinet had ratified just recently. That was also approved. Now, UAE is the only country with which India now has a CEPA and BIT agreement that makes it a stronger economic partner. There were other additional agreements, protocols, MOUs which were signed ranging from trade, whether it is on other issues relating to museums as well. India is building a museum in Gujarat where UAE can play an important role as well. But all in all, the significant aspect is the re-emphasis on the economy part, the re-emphasis on the diaspora bit, which is where I am standing, where the diaspora is present, and also in terms of the energy bit, we know that India imports a lot of crude oil and LNG from this country. So the relationship at one point was just based on that energy partnership, but that has now diversified into several areas from connectivity to trade, and as we have been talking about, the 3 E's of the relationship. It's economy, energy and the expatriates, the Indian diaspora, who form a key living bridge between the two countries. But all in all, let me again show you the situation on the ground where I am standing, and the members of the diaspora are eagerly waiting for the Prime Minister to come. Now, in fact, if my camera person can show that they have put the lasers also on, the mobile lights are still flickering, and essentially the focus is that when the Prime Minister comes, it will be a grand welcome which will be given to him. And
Absolutely, Siddhan, and that's what we are also picking on. Thank you so much for getting us all those updates. That was a good, absolutely, from our Race to Power show. Thank you so much for joining us here on WION.